¿Cómo están amigos? Hoy tenemos un día muy particular en Futuras Leyendas. Es un capítulo tremendamente interesante. Hace bastante tiempo comencé a indagar en el mundo del Kundalini Yoga y esa investigación me llevó a este maravilloso libro. Todavía no lo leo, sí investigué bastante sobre sus temáticas y las cosas que incluía. Y lo otro que hice fue seguir a quien lo publicó. NEVEN PAAR, no sé si se pronuncia así, pero ya se lo vamos a preguntar, porque aquí comienza. Muy bien, queridos amigos, bienvenidos. Comenzó este capítulo de Futuras Leyendas, está disponible en YouTube, está disponible en Spotify y hoy la verdad que para mí esto es un momento maravilloso. Hay algunos capítulos que hablo con personas que saben de, no sé, de la vida, de algunas experiencias que han tenido. Hay algunos capítulos que hablamos de psicología, hay algunos capítulos que hablamos de lo cotidiano, del deporte. Este es un capítulo que para mí es realmente mágico. Es algo que descubrí hace muy poco. Encontré a una persona que sabe muchísimo sobre el tema y contacté a esta persona para ver si tenía ganas de conversar con nosotros, conmigo en este caso, para compartirlo con ustedes. Inmediatamente me dijo que sí. Así que para mí es una oportunidad gigante. Es un capítulo en inglés, por lo tanto, a algunas personas les va a costar más aprenderlo, pero la calidad de la información que está disponible en este capítulo me parece que lo vale sí o sí. Así que les voy a presentar a esta persona. He's been learning about Kundalini for a lot of time. I've read in the back of the book, it's been like a 17-year ride. Around 2004, the full awakening occurred and gave birth not only to his new way of living, but also to the book, The Serpent Rising. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to NEVEN PAAR. I got to do the clap. Thank you very much for being here. This is awesome for
me. I'm really
How's
happy
everything
to be here.
going? How are you doing?
Excellent. Great, man. Just working a lot, there's a lot of people nowadays that really need my help that have, bitten into the books, both books, but especially Serpent Rising. It's an ever.
What's the name of the other book?
Community. The other book is The Mages, Kundalini and the Golden Dawn. Yeah, so that one's that one's different. That's the first one I wrote. That one is more, it's about magic, Western mysteries. So magic, Kabbalah, astrology, tarot. Alchemy, spiritual alchemy, Hermeticism. Wow. Yeah. So that one, but of course with the underlying, subject of the Kundalini, because I had the Kundalini awakening in 2004. And that put me on this path of, learning all this stuff, the magic, ceremonial magic, Kabbalah, and just learning to integrate the new expanded consciousness that became part of my life, obviously as to this day. So it's been a long and perilous journey to some extent as well, but it's led to me writing these two books and now working on, I'm still working on, I got 5 more that are about halfway done.
Wow.
So this is a long, this is what I do now, bro. See my books.
That's awesome.
Surrounded by books.
And that's awesome. That's
just cramming information, learning.
What whole civilizations had to use to reconstruct themselves again. That's the only thing that's worth it. If you have millions and millions of bills and dollars, you can do anything after a flood, after a meteorite, or after Vladimir Putin. I don't know, but let's start a bit from the back. What you said was very interesting. You said you started learning about alchemy and magic, and this started waking up interest in you. And I had a talk with a radio host a week ago, and he was talking about it was like a Christian radio show. And I'm not Christian, but I was talking about my experience in the world. And I said the word magic. I said if you
don't like that.
sit in, that's where I'm going. Like I was
it's in the Bible. Yeah, it's erroneously interpreted, wrongly interpreted by the church. The concept that magic is bad. I mean, Jesus was a grand magician. How could he raise?
That's what I was talking about, and
every into wine. magic.
That's
I mean,
magic.
that's
And every rigid like structure for me was like not
very
cool,
rigid. Yeah,
not
yeah,
to get in love with ideologies where you can just be calm and take a watch. And what I said was, he said, how would you express like God to someone else? And I said, if you sit down in silence with a lot of, in a humble way, and you try to listen to your connection to everything, you're going to listen eventually. So you don't have to, I don't know, convince anyone about the existence of something else if they sit down and they meet it.
of course,
And they
God's
were, and
inside of us.
yeah, and I was
It-
like, so that's like
that's
magic.
the
And they
core
were
of
like,
every religion.
no, magic
Yeah,
is
well,
not
look, they
like
have a
that,
very, it's very dogmatic how indoctrination of the Christian church. It's been going on for 1700 years, really,
Yeah,
since the beginning of Christianity. And the church teaches its followers to study the book literally. So
yeah,
that's the main issue, right? Because essentially, and I just was talking about this on yesterday's podcast, because it's one of the key things that I kind of bring to the table is this understanding that all of these spiritual realities are meant to be interpreted, and sorry, religious scriptures are meant to be interpreted through metaphor, through
hmm,
number, through symbol, through allegory. Like Jesus,
yeah,
when he spoke, and there's so much beautiful teachings in there, but if you take it literally, it can get very confusing. It can create a lot of hatred towards groups that are
that's
not
it. Yeah,
Christian. It can create hatred towards, let's say, magic. Like the Christians were burning witches at the stake because you weren't supposed to learn through these alternative methods and means, like the occult and the esoteric arts, which is part of like a lot of stuff that I study, like magic, hermeticism, and all that. That was hated on by the Christian church for a very long time, and you couldn't study these principles or you'd be burned, you'd be killed.
that's
So
crazy. It's like teams,
it's crazy. It's not.
yeah,
It's wrong, of course, right? It was all done for political gain. The Christian church did that for political gain over its followers, and has held that political gain for all until now, right? But people are
hmm,
waking up because they're realizing that it breeds hate, right? Any religion or spiritual discipline, or anything that's meant to connect you with God but ends up breeding hate is wrong. That's got
it's
nothing
not
to do with
working.
God.
Yeah,
God is love, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Jesus was love. He was the light, and he was the way, the truth. He gave the principles of how to synchronize with these things, right? But he was
yeah.
love, essentially, that at the highest level. And they took those teachings and created a lot of hate around that. Hate this person or that person if they don't side with our beliefs, and that's essentially how all religion works, right? When
Yeah,
you
yeah,
look at
yeah. It's like,
Islam,
yeah,
that's
yeah. That's the
all.
main thing. Yeah, and
So
it
that's
makes
why
like
we're living
groups.
in a day. We're living in today's day and age is not. Religions are outdated. They're done. Okay, they had their time. They're done. It's over. Like, just bye. We don't need you. Like, the time is now for people like me with the teachings, the revival of the ancient teachings that bring people to higher senses of spirituality. This is that time. Okay, but they're holding on. They're doing their best to hold on. But people, they just know in their hearts, it's not about hate, discrimination. It creates further problems. It's about love, unity, right?
Yeah.
So that's essentially, at the end of the day, that's what I'm trying to do.
So that's what I was gonna ask you next. So if you would take, because there's something else that I wanted to mention for the people that are listening and watching on YouTube. If you follow your Instagram, which by the way, as a marketing manager for
I
different
love my
companies
Instagram.
which I worked on, you should put your name, because I understand that the Instagram
Wing
ad
shoes.
is it's
Yeah,
related with the publishing, but your
yeah.
name is more like personal. I was trying to search everywhere for your personal account, but
That's
the
a good
Instagram
point. Yeah.
posts that you publish, I was every one of them. I usually trick the algorithm and I comment or like or save things that I wanted to show me more. And
Mhm.
every day you post something different, and it just blows my mind. Sometimes it's just like the image of, as you said, Jesus, and at the back the different colors you have here in the back, in your right,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
the chakras and
yeah.
everything,
The
and the
chakras. Yeah.
mixture. I love that. Like I take everything I experience and I learn, and I try to make it match and see what goes with what. And I
Well,
think
that's how we're all
that's
learning
yeah, yeah,
nowadays.
yeah.
Yeah. the way to show thing, like showing, I like to I do a lot of illustrations, in my, between my two books I have over 1,200 pages of text, but I also have 250 illustrations that I sat
Nice.
down and I drew, because I wanted to appeal to exactly to people like you who are maybe a little more visual, allowing you to put things together, through your subconscious mind when you're looking at something visually and having those aha moments, and consequently, it seems to work really well on social media. Social media is very visual.
Yeah, yeah,
If
yeah.
I just had text, as amazing as my text is, it wouldn't draw people in, but they see an image and it's like, okay, let me find out more. Then they want to read. They're like, oh,
Exactly.
okay, now I
Yeah,
get it.
that's exactly.
Yeah.
But I was going to ask, what would you say to someone? This is like also like the trickery behind it. That this part I edit out, not the main podcast, but the fragment. I'm gonna take like a minute of this and publish it in different places. So if I would try to tell someone that doesn't know anything about this, something that when you say it, it's going to make them feel like, oh, I know what he's talking about. I didn't know about that. Like it was a real thing. I want to know more about that. What would you
Mhm.
recommend to someone that wants to start his or her Kundalini awakening?
That's a really good question. Number one, you have a Kundalini. Let's start right there. Most people
That's
don't know
awesome.
that.
Yeah.
There is a trigger inside of your body. I call it the superhero trigger. And when you
Nice.
trigger this thing in this lifetime, you become a modern day superhero. Now that doesn't mean you're going to be like, a Marvel character and have these superpowers that, Hollywood, you know, blows up and things, but you're going to have, incredible psychic powers. You're going to completely be attuned to the love. You're going to essentially become an embodiment. We're talking about Jesus. You're going to become an embodiment of Christ consciousness, or you're going to become like a Jesus-like figure, a saint-like figure, essentially. And number one, it brings tremendous happiness in your life, bliss, peace of mind. The ability to control and manage your reality without fear. This is essential. People want to manifest and have the best life on this planet that they can, and have the job and everything else, that the dream. They want to live the dream life, but to
Yeah.
do that, you have to optimize your energy field so that you can manifest that. And so, a Kundalini awakening, a full Kundalini awakening, infuses your chakras, right? And with this light energy, right? And essentially brings about a higher, more expanded state of consciousness. So, like unity consciousness. So, you're not engraved in the body anymore and thinking from egoic consciousness, but you're feeling that love which unites everyone, and that all of a sudden opens up a whole world of possibilities, and also you're going to be living in the moment, in the present. This is one of the true beautiful gifts of the Kundalini awakening, where you are unable to anymore kind of go into your mind and live in the past and dwell in the past and just feel bad and have all these horrible emotions and weigh yourself down. You're just going to, like, it's all washed away. It's washed away by the love inside of you, and now you're just present. And when you're present,
Wow.
you're in the realm of pure potential, and now you can connect with people. I can we First time you and I are talking, but I feel like we've known each other our whole lives, because
Yeah.
essentially we have, because we're both God, right? I'm God, you're God, and now it's like two gods, or aspects, or you know
Yeah. Or
um,
portions of
of
this whole
God. We're
God. Yeah.
meeting and we're talking, and it's a beautiful, beautiful experience. And you can experience that with every single person that you come across, and then there's a whole host of other types of incredible experiences, like lucid
But
dreaming.
I want to, yeah, oh yeah, I had
Yeah.
a crazy experience about that. Maybe I can tell you about it a little bit later. But I wanted to ask, you said in the side, you have like a button in the side. What does that mean?
Well, it's a trigger. Okay, so it's a trigger of it's at the bottom of your spine. All right, so I'll
Okay.
talk about kind of the framework of the Kundalini, how it works. All right, and so the Kundalini is at the bottom of your spine in Muladhara chakra at the coccyx region. Okay, it can get triggered. It gets triggered through sublimated sexual energy and pranic energy, right? There's all these different yogic practices, pranayamas, meditations, and things that can trigger it. But also, very commonly, more commonly than that, is in today's day and age, it's, let's say, people are having spontaneous awakenings, through the use of ayahuasca, DMT, cannabis, through falling in love, through just anything that can generate an incredible, beautiful, ecstatic emotion in your abdomen, which is where this energy gets triggered. It starts in the abdomen with this churning motion, this, that then just gets transposed into and activates this kundalini at the coccyx region of your spine. And then when it's activated, this generated ball of light rises upwards through your spinal column, through the cerebrospinal fluid, okay, from an anatomical perspective. And then it stops at certain points, and blasts open and awakens these chakras, right? So everything I do, in a sense, is related to the chakras, because whether you had a kundalini awakening or not, you have to learn to cleanse your chakras. You have to learn to purify them, to optimize your energetic field. And if you didn't have a kundalini awakening and you start focusing on that through spiritual healing practices like tuning forks, aromatherapy, crystals, I have all this stuff in both of my books, but then obviously magic as well, ceremonial magic in my first book. Then all of a sudden you're making yourself ready to have that awakening, because the soul wants to awaken this energy. It wants to. If the ego is really, really powerful, if you have a very big ego and the ego holds you down and creates all these fears and blockages in your chakras and things, you're going to have a very hard time awakening this energy. But if you focus on spiritual progression and you focus on cleansing the chakras, and you focus on meditation, or, yoga, or anything that brings you closer to God, which is inside you, then you're going to create a potential for this energy to get awakened at the bottom of your spine. And when it does, it's literally, the awakening is one part of the process, and it's the beginning of a beautiful spiritual transformation. It's the beginning towards the path to enlightenment. All right. So when you get awakened, that doesn't mean you're enlightened. You still will have a lot of work to do on yourself to optimize these chakras, and then to optimize the kundalini system. It's got its own thing, and I talk about that in my books, but especially in my second book. I completely define the science of the kundalini as related to human anatomy, the different brain centers, the pineal pituitary gland, and optimizing that so you can be a receiver to a higher sense of consciousness. Your body must become attuned to that and ready. Your organs have to be purified. All these things. It's a beautiful transformation process. It's cross cultural. It's universal. So it doesn't matter if you're in South America, North America, if you're in Asia, if you're South Africa. Every single human being has this kundalini trigger. It's at the bottom of their spine. And the first step is understanding that you have it. The second step is longing to awaken it. Okay, when you develop the desire to awaken it, all of a sudden you're going to create the potential for that thing to happen, and
you know what? Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, and every word you say makes like parts of me shiver and remember moments where I experienced something of this process, which obviously it wasn't as prepared or as
it usually isn't
informed, as maybe it was in your experience. In fact, something that was very crazy.
I wasn't ready when it happened to me either.
Oh, really?
It happened spontaneously, fully accidentally. I didn't even know what the kundalini was. All of a sudden I have this awakening, completely like get sucked out of my body, see myself as a full body of light, see my room in which it happened as a hologram. All of a sudden I just had this whole vision, but not a vision where like I imagined it, but a vision of like with my eyes open, seeing this world as a hologram, because that is the basis of this reality. And I've seen it a couple of times where it was like I was projected and just the walls themselves were see-through, literally just a hologram. It's a holographic reality we live in. It's not a scientific theory. I've experienced it and I can tell you it's real. You have a body of light. It's within you right now. It's like your spiritual double, okay? And it exists at a different frequency of vibration, and you can tune into it. And the idea of the Kundalini awakening is to optimize it, to awaken these 72,000 nadis in yogic scriptures that they talk about, that completely infuses this light energy, which feeds off of prana that you get from food and water and the air and the sunlight. Okay, it's all prana all around us, and your sexual energy. See, the sexual energy is very essential to this process. Okay, because the idea is, as human beings, we're constantly looking to expel this energy outwards through an orgasm, right? But that's kind of our test. God put that, the creator put that as a test. And the test is to take that longing, but turn it inwards, turn that energy inwards. And that's what I was doing, inadvertently. It's a form of tantric sex practice I was doing to awaken this energy. And then when I had it, it was just this incredible. I mean, I talk about it in my books and videos and everything. And it just, it was the beginning of a new life for me. I
Yeah,
was a
yeah,
totally
yeah.
different person before with different interests. And all of a sudden I have this awakening. And now it's like, okay, time to, change everything.
Yeah, and I also
Become spiritual.
felt it like the reference that Dr. Jordan Peterson says about like the
Mm,
40 days in the desert. Like
yeah.
after you're not what you were till this point, you kind of go like, okay, then what am I?
Yeah.
What am I doing here? And for me, the experience I was telling you about, it was like I told my psychologist, I felt an energy come from the bottom of my back, and then like stopped in the first part, and then like a month later, I still feel it around here, like
Hmm.
trapped.
Hmm.
But every time I started going like stretching my back, and in the morning, I had a new cat which I never had before, and my wife and my kid brought a cat, and I was like,
Hmm.
nice cat, but it kept doing my life. And then I started watching the cat, the way it moved its back, and I tried to
Hmm.
imitate that. And I felt just in a specific moment this like explosion of light, as you said. And I
Hmm.
went immediately to my doctor and I said, "What is this? This is something. I'm not
But
imagining
what
this. This
doctor
is."
though? Well, doctors normally don't know about this stuff.
No, it was my psychologist, and
Okay.
she did
She's
like,
familiar with the
yeah, yeah,
Kundalini
yeah,
because
and
what
she
you're
loves all
describing is
this.
that's a full Kundalini awakening. What you're describing, down to a
Oh,
T, like
okay,
the universal. You had right, like look along the spinal cord. There's what's called the three granthis, psychic blocks.
okay,
So what happens is the energy it awakens, all right. But these psychic blocks that are linked to the chakras, and if you have issues in certain chakras, okay, um, the idea is that you have to remove these blockages for the energy to rise up fully. Because what it wants to do is rise up into your brain. It wants to
okay,
go in the center of your brain, okay, and then awaken the top chakra here, the lotus, awaken literally like a lotus that just opens up, okay, and now you can receive higher sense of consciousness. You get all these psychic senses awaken, clairvoyance and clairaudience and everything. But if you have these blockages at these 3 points along the body, then the energy can't go
yeah,
through.
it
The
can't
Kundalini
pass. And
can't
the
go
other,
through.
and I read that when it passed, it doesn't go back down. So you can
No.
go achieving these steps. I read it in one of your posts,
Oh well, there
and
you go. I think
you
that guy knows
can.
what he's talking about. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, 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 for sure. And but for me, it was so extreme, so beautiful, so undescribable, so real. I was like mad that I had to explain it. It was like, why don't they teach
Because
this
it's
in somewhere else in
yeah.
school? And why I
From
wasn't aware
personal
of this?
experience, unless you've had the awakening, okay, like you and I we can talk like this for days and share and understand one another. But when you tell an unawakened person, unless you have a science that can describe it, that was the essence of what I tried to do in my book. I wanted to create a foundation where even an unawakened person can look at it and understand it and have those aha moments, and then that can facilitate the process happening in them. But without the science, you and I can just talk about it and we'll understand each other, because it is one of those things you need to experience.
Yeah.
You need to really experience it to understand the vastness of this, the importance, the beauty. Like I wouldn't trade what happened to me for $1 billion, hands
Yeah, yeah,
down.
yeah, of course. Yeah. And you know
You
what?
know,
Something that also took me to this place, because I know it was like a physical for me experience, a spiritual, obviously, but it was a whole experience. But something got me to that moment. I had been meditating for a long time, several
yeah, of
days. I was
course.
doing
Yeah.
yoga 2 times a week.
Yes,
I
yes,
didn't know
yes.
that was gonna happen, but I was like
Mhm.
preparing it maybe unconsciously. But
Yeah.
to know everything that you express here, and as you say here in the same book, the Kundalini compendium, but easy to understand way of explaining something that it's almost impossible to explain,
Impossible.
you know.
Yeah.
But
That's
at
that.
least we
Yeah.
can say it exists.
Yes.
If you feel
Yes.
something, go deeper. If you know, Google things, I don't know, just
Yeah.
care
Yeah.
about it,
No,
you know.
absolutely. Well, that was my goal. Okay, because when I had the awakening in 2004, there was no social media. There was no. I mean, there was, but it was like it wasn't like a thing, right? Like
Yeah.
it is now. The internet, there was very little information. So, I realized there are very limited resources. There was just one guy I was reading about, Gopi Krishna, and he's like, the grandfather of the Kundalini science in a sense because of what he's contributed to his books. And they're great, they're excellent, but they don't describe the science. They describe some of the things that you go through and whatever, and it's all very relative, subjective.
Yeah,
There's no
yeah, yeah.
science there. And so as I was going through everything and learning, I found all these bits and pieces of information in different cultures and traditions, and I was putting together this thing in my head, this science that one day I knew I was obviously going to put into a book or series of books and kind of inform the world,
Mhm.
because there really isn't a lot of information on the Kundalini.
And something.
It's a very like rare thing. It's not rare in terms of it happening to people. It seems to be happening a lot, but it's rare to come across someone that's like, well, I haven't found anybody that's really defined it anything close to what I have.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
and
yeah. Of course. Yeah, me
and I've
neither.
been yeah,
I've searched a
and most
lot,
people
and
say that. I'm not,
no, the for sure the most comprehensible piece of information I've read is yours, and the most like actual one for this time. But something that
yeah,
got my
yeah,
my first attention and made me go like searching everywhere, and then I went like, no, 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 this I can't. I mean, count on people telling me the truth for me to discover this. I gotta go search and make my ears
yes,
muted for
yeah,
the world that's trying to explain that it's not the way and everything. And when I saw the Egyptians and I saw the Eye of Horus, and I was like,
hmm
why, if they
well, that's the
could,
center of the brain.
yeah,
Yeah,
the pineal gland, and I saw all
pineal.
those
Well,
relations,
yeah,
like
yes,
the
yes. The
I
thalamus, the pineal
yeah, 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 of
pituitary,
course. But I mean
yeah, all
the
of it. Yeah,
representation of that. And then when
yes,
you see the Jesus journey, and as you said today, the rebirth of the person after this happens, I was like, all the big cultures and the most important things that happen in the past are trying to leave one message. They could leave anything, and they
yeah,
left that sign, that the
yeah,
pay attention to this. And we're like,
yeah.
yeah, no,
Well, it
but
was
I
all
want
through
to buy a
symbols.
boat and I want to buy a better car. And it's like, what? Why
Yeah,
are
no,
we
no, for
paying
sure. I
attention?
mean, well, look, like I said, the ancients they taught through symbols. They put symbols and numbers and allegories and metaphors into their art, into their sculpture, into their architecture. Especially the Egyptians, they put it in their architecture, in the temple, the construction of their temples, and they left the clues for us to be able to understand. At the end of the day, they're all talking about the same thing. They're all talking about awakening the Kundalini. All of them.
That was the crazy thing
Yeah,
for me. Everything
yeah.
else, the story is like, no, you got to be a fan of this one. You got to
No.
do this sort of things for us to accept you, or you got to pay. I went in my saddest time of my life. I went to all the different ideas to try to find something that made me feel whole, and everything had something that was like, this is kind of fishy. This, they're
Yeah,
trying to get
yeah.
something
There's so
from me.
much.
They're.
Yeah, yeah,
And after this connected everything, as Steve
yeah,
Jobs said, when you connect the dots backwards and you go like, wait a minute, this thing that I feel feels a lot like the representation I saw in
that's it.
Jesus, in the Kundalini, in the eye, and everything that people
Yeah.
manifest. I was like, it seems like they're talking about this.
Quetzalcoatl, Kukulkan, Viracocha, they're all manifestations, aspects of Kundalini awakening. The idea of the serpent, anything that this is the next book I'm working on.
Nice.
It's Serpent Rising to Kundalini in the Ancient World, where I'm literally going into every ancient civilization, ancient culture, and examining especially the role of serpent symbolism. All right, so you have the feathered serpent Quetzalcoatl, who's the same as Kukulkan. You have Viracocha, he has some of the very similar attributes, and then that in some way he connects to Jesus. because he was apparently Quetzalcoatl was a white bearded man, and they connect that with the idea of Jesus, and then Jesus connects with Osiris of Egypt and Mithras, okay, and then that connects to the green man, and the green man is all of nature. And essentially, Jesus, if we're going to look at Jesus, his highest symbolism, Jesus is the sun. Okay,
Yeah.
the 12 apostles are the 12 zodiac. He
Yeah, the
represents,
stars around it.
yeah, that's why he's born. That's why he's born. You know, Christmas is like a few days shy of the winter solstice, which is the beginning of the rise of the sun. So it's a solar mythology, and all of them essentially relate in some way either to a solar or a lunar mythology. And so when you're dealing with the solar mythology, you right away you're going to deal with the Kundalini awakening process, and Jesus was, you know, our latest most popular depiction of that as the life, death, resurrection deity, right? He's the
Yeah.
life, death, resurrection God, but he's a man, okay, like me and you. And he just underwent this Kundalini awakening process, which then, you know, connected him with the father energy, which is, you know, the creator energy. You know, I spoke about that in today's post. The higher self, the holy guardian angel. We all
Oh, that
have
was crazy too. I'm
like that one,
sorry to
man.
interrupt, but that was crazy because I created a like school book, let's call it, but it's something that I have it right here. It's something that you write on, and the way I created it, it's like when you go to
Oh, I
school,
love
you
that.
know,
Yeah, yeah, the
and
Vitruvian Man. Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
Vitruvian Man with all
Mm.
the earth, air, water, and fire,
Water,
and
fire. That's it.
when you start, it goes like, I'm not going to show all of it, but here you put like the future you would like to experience. Here you
Mm-hmm.
translate it into personal goals and then professional goals, and you
Mm-hmm.
start to put like your purpose as the goal, and then you start working towards there with meditations and things you have to go
Mm-hmm.
check, but trying
Law of
to,
attraction. You're trying
yeah,
to
yeah, and
attract
trying
those
to,
things into your life by programming your mind. Yeah,
exactly. And the quote was like, a man who doesn't know to which port he sails, no wind is favorable, you know? So you
of
start by
course.
going, this is what I want to
Intention is
do.
number one. Intention
Yeah.
is most. You got to know what you want. You know, that's why willpower. This is why I love the Kabbalah, and the Kabbalah is the best form of transpersonal psychology out there. Sadly, again, there's not a lot of good Kabbalistic books. There is ones that are really advanced, and that's why I tried in my first book to bring a very approachable understanding of Kabbalah. So what you're talking about is, if your willpower is not understanding of your goals, if you don't program your willpower first, then everything else that follows is not going to work,
You
because your
start
willpower is,
going towards pleasures, I see. All
yes,
around people, more money, more planes, more cars, more everything, gifts,
they're not
drugs,
in tune with
alcohol.
the fire in their hearts, right? The fire of the soul is the fire of the willpower. So, you know, you mentioned the elements. And so these chakras here can be broken out into the five elements. And each of these five elements represents a very important facet and function of our personality. So you have earth, which is the grounding, the physical body, putting this body into motion. We need that energy. You have, you know, water, the second chakra here, which has to do with your emotions, right? So your emotional self, it's still who you are, you know, but is that the highest part of you? No, because if you go up higher, you have the fire. And so now that's the fire of the soul, which you're trying to create. You're trying to get your in touch with your soul so that your fire can control and manage your water. And to do that, it uses air. And so air
Wow.
would be in the heart chakra, right? And but then the air is the connecting link with these. Well, there's one more above there. These three chakras, which would be the spirit. All right. And that's why when you open this lotus through a Kundalini awakening, or you can open it through other means, spiritual um, techniques and things, you then bring in the spiritual energy into your chakras. And that's essentially what the idea of the resurrection is, from, you know, again, to reference Christianity, is, you know, having the spiritual resurrection brings in the spirit. The spirit
Yeah.
always comes from the top down. The Kundalini rises from the bottom up. Okay. And the idea is to, when you have a full Kundalini awakening, it rises from the bottom up through your spine, awakens all these chakras and things, optimizes your body of light, all of that. But then you will soon, after that experience, have an infusion of the spirit, and the spirit comes from the top down. And when the spirit enters the body, it creates perfect peace, perfect bliss. And it comes
Wow.
through your hands, It infuses through your hands, through your limbs, through your legs, through your torso, and it comes right in the center of the heart. And you are now operating from the heart, which is picks up a lot more information than the brain. And
Yeah,
now
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
empath, a telepath, and that's how you awaken all these incredible powers.
Yeah, and something that was crazy, I was diagnosed like a couple of years ago with ADHD, and a couple of years before that with PTSD. So I've been
Mhm.
looking around for answers for a while. And the ADHD thing, I it it's not easy for me to pay attention really to something that I don't care about. But when I do care
It's very
about
normal.
the yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah. I
normal to
mean,
not pay attention to things you don't care about.
and I just
ADHD,
forced
ADHD should not be a diagnosis.
yeah,
That should
it's
not
a
be a
state.
diagnosis.
I feel like
The
it's a
state of
state that
mind.
you've taken your mind to because it tried to
Yes.
say something, you didn't listen for too long, and now it just doesn't care about anything else, and it just shows you what you care about. But when I
Yes.
started caring about all this, it started turning into something like I needed to find out,
Passion.
and
Created a
yeah, yeah, yeah,
passion.
yeah, yeah, and you also feel it. And I was the it played a good role because I was doing a meditation in the air outside my house and outdoors, I mean. And since it was something that I really cared about, I was hyper focused on the counting of my breath, and that was it.
Mhm.
And I started
Mhm.
doing that, and all these ideas came to my head. I let them go away. I started counting, and when I was like 15 minutes in, I just felt something in my shoulder and then in my arm. And I opened my eyes, which is something I rarely don't do. Even if I'm meditating and my kid comes in and says something, I just keep on focus. But I opened my
Mhm.
eyes and there was a bird walking on my shoulder and on my
Mhm.
leg and then here and then walking around. And for me, it was crazy, like
Well, because
I
you
don't know, the
created such
confidence of,
stillness,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
animals, they sense fear. They sense us humans, we have very rigid vibrations, very unsure of ourselves. Animals have pure vibrations. The spirit is pure. So when you're in that meditative state, and that's why like a spiritually enlightened person can go walk with tigers and bears and they won't touch them because animals are triggered by fear, and fear comes from us humans. We feel that. We have the fear. But when you're
Wow.
in that state, when you center yourself so much like you did, and you just feeling that spirit, and you're controlling your breath, you're completely, your vibration is just at a high pitch, attuned to that spirit, all of a sudden a butterfly will come on you, or a bird, or you'll even see like an animal just walk by you that normally wouldn't, because
Yeah, yeah.
you're no longer now affecting them negatively, because that's your natural state. Your natural state is to be perfectly in line with the spirit. But as I always say, we're animals, but we're spiritual beings. But we have that thing within ourselves, that duality that I believe that animals don't. That they have this purity, that they're just kind of part of nature, and we're meant to be like that. But to get to that level, we gotta awaken our kundalinis, all of us.
Yeah,
Mass
and
kundalini
also
awakenings.
I think also it's pretty important to understand the separation between our mental game and our soul. The way we pay
Hmm.
attention to what we feel like that. I don't know. Sometimes to me it happens when someone comes in and I go like, "That's a bad person." And
Yeah.
maybe I don't
Oh,
know. It's
for
been
sure.
2 weeks since I've never felt that, but someone comes in and I go, "Oh, whoa, whoa!" I sense it.
Oh, you could just sense. Yeah, you sense the the evil in people.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
won't
yeah.
say
The
even ignorance is evil. You don't have to be to murder someone to be evil.
yeah, of course, yeah.
Ignorance is a form of evil. It's evil's younger cousin, I like to say. And that being ignorant of anything in life, it can bring in that vibration of fear, and that blocks the chakras. It blocks your inner light from shining. And so somebody that's spiritually enlightened or just attuned spiritually, they'll feel that. I mean, we all feel it. We're all communicating. Like 93% of our communication is telepathic. Even though like we're on, so far away from one another, like I can totally feel your vibe. I don't even need to look at you. And I could close my eyes. I can feel your vibe because we're on the same frequency, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking, you talk back, and then we're on the same frequency. And that's how we're all constantly communicating through frequencies, and we're trying to induce our vibration into other people and then induce it back. And that's how we're really exchanging information. Like The verbal stuff's only 7%. It's a very small number.
Wow.
You know, that's why so much left for interpretation. You know, like that's why body language is very essential with communication. And but just the main thing is being aligned with the spirit and the soul, just being centered, and you will attract beautiful things and love into your life and amazing opportunities. And this is why people meditate. I mean, the goal of all yoga and meditation is union with God, with the Creator. You know,
Yeah, with
and
everything, right?
yeah, and that's what we're
I
essentially trying to do.
when I started feeling all these cool things and I didn't know where it came from, I started doing meditations, which I uploaded to Instagram. Just the whole Calm app. I just hit it like the
Uh-huh.
daily Calm 10 minutes, and I recorded me doing the meditation so other people could copy it. And I did it a lot of days in one before the I mean after the other, and it really made me feel cool. But people, a couple of guys started going like, "Oh, you lazy, stupid guy! You know, go to work. Everybody's trying to make a living, and you're right." And I was like, "Whoa, this
Oh,
must be
there's
a horrible
such
way of
annoying
living," you
people
know?
out there, eh? There's such annoying people. They're just looking to quarrel. I get that too. You know, you have these 19 out of 20 people are like so positive. And then
Yeah.
there's that one guy like, yeah, but why did you do this? And you're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, shut up. Like, keep your shitty vibe to yourself. Like,
And it's
no
just
one's
that, you know,
interested.
the expulsion of what's inside of him, you know, just
Yeah.
I feel
But
bad and I
he just
wouldn't
wants
get
to
it
feel, he
out.
wants to validate that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He wants to validate the negativity, and he wants to bring you in because he feeds off of your energy. He psychically feeds off of taking your light.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Like if he's not
crazy.
adding light and he just wants to take your light and he's like, yeah, and my ego is even bigger now. And like, I feel even better and I'm more proud.
I
And
won
just
this
so, oh,
discussion.
yeah, it's like, and I won this discussion and I'm going to drink my beer and feel so good about myself. Sorry, I'm doing Louis C.K. right here. I don't know why, but
Yeah, that was a perfect Louis
that was a
C.K.
little bit. I
So
went to see a stand up a couple of months ago. I don't know. I just love Louis C.K. But
it's very
he,
funny,
he
guy.
boils it down really well to that person, that type, that
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
annoying
yeah.
person that just walks around looking for like negativity and just anything that's good. They just want to squash it. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
no, you should do this, and you're like, ugh. Like it's not fun. Like shut up. Ugh. And then
I
I feel like
usually
I gotta say something to that, and I'm like, ugh.
yeah, 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 yeah. Like respond. I usually
On
see
social
like
media
it.
too, eh? You notice
Yeah,
it's on
yeah.
social media? Oh, of course, because they wouldn't say that in real life because
No,
that
no, no,
requires
no. Of course,
courage. But in social
no,
media, it's
no.
like, eh,
No
no,
name, private account,
no
a picture
name,
of
change
a
my
teddy
name.
bear.
Meh.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Ah, I
Throw
don't know.
fire around. But it's
We're going
crazy
off on a
because
comedic tangent here.
so if you would want to tell someone that doesn't know what this is all about and wants to start doing the first steps, I'm gonna get ahead of you with the first step, which is for me to buy this book.
Get the
You can
book.
buy it in English y también lo pueden comprar en español porque está disponible en
But in Spanish,
Kindle
too.
y también está disponible en Amazon. Eh, Serpent Rising. We're going to put the link on the description for you guys to buy it. You're going to have so much important information in here. After you read that, what steps would you recommend for someone to start? This is not some other thing that I did. When I felt that in my back and I started doing some movements and I felt like pops and it liberated that and made me
Yeah, like you're
see
doing kriyas.
colors and
You're
yeah.
doing essentially yogic postures,
But you
which
know what? I've always been like this. I played rugby for 9 years, so I was like, oh, this is like giving me superpowers. I took my
yeah, yeah.
foot and expanded my arms, and I uh, damaged one of my muscles. It went like,
Oh shit.
you know, and I
Yeah,
had
yeah, yeah.
ended up in the hospital. So not
Oh,
that way, but how
oh.
could we, you know, go step by step
Well,
towards this
for
awakening?
like for let's say the beginner, like somebody just starting from scratch. All right, this is what I would say. You're starting from scratch. Number one, learn the mysteries of the universe. Okay, learn about God, the Creator. Learn about the Spirit. Learn about the chakras. Learn about human energy system. You know, for put science and history and all these different you know things in the put that on the side. Learn esotericism. All right, learn. You know, read, fill yourself with knowledge. All right, so that's
So
step number one.
the first book, the first page of the Bible says, "Don't eat from the tree of good and evil and science."
Only from the
And
tree
I
of life.
understand that, like, it's not don't
Well,
use
no, no.
that for something,
Science
but
has a
it's like
role, but I'm saying
exactly,
people that
yeah.
want to get spiritual, they're like trying to always bring science into it. I'm
The
like,
answer
okay,
is
get on
not
the
there,
side.
right?
Yeah, well, you'll find a lot of answers there, but like, why would you, you know, why go into that direction when you can just go into like old stuff that's always worked? Like, you
Yeah,
know, there's ancient teachings that have existed for thousands of years, and we're always just kind of rehashing those in a way, trying to develop something new, but they all work. You know, yoga works, ceremonial magic works. I mean, um, but anyways, so what I say is, like when I had the first Kundalini awakening, it was like, okay, step number one, learn. So learn, read books, get get information from good sources. You know, like but fill yourself with knowledge. Step number one. Then practice. Okay, so the next step would be, all right, so meditation and breathing. All right, so that would be the next step because you need to learn to meditate. Meditating is a way that you learn to silence your mind. Okay, when you silence your mind, you can get beyond the duality of the mind, the chatter of the ego, and then you can go towards the spirit and the soul, right? And breathing exercises. Breathing is essentially the most essential thing we do every day. You know, you can live without food for, you know, a month or longer, you water a week, but you can't go without breath more than, you know, 5 minutes, whatever, on average. Doesn't matter. The whole point is we're constantly bringing spirit, which is this pranic energy, into our bodies. It's fueling our chakras, it's fueling our consciousness. You know, it's completely, it's essentially activating all these inner functions, you know, like your willpower, your emotions, your thoughts, your logic region, your memory, your intuition. All these things are being activated by pranic energy, and we get that essentially from breathing. Because in ancient traditions, breath is actually uh, spirit on a different plane. Okay, and so by breathing, you're actually bringing spirit into your body. All right, and
nice,
so this is why most Kundalini awakening experiences are they occur through breathing and meditation. So I would say learn and then meditate. Focus on your breathing, which is a part of meditation. But then let's say in yogic sciences, you have also pranayamas, different types of breathing techniques. Okay, and they do different things, and I talk about that in my book. And so and that's and then I would say find a spiritual practice that you like. Okay, find something that works for you. So
yeah,
let's say, you know, in the Serpent Rising, I have crystals and I have aromatherapy and I have tatwas and tuning force. These are all spiritual modalities, spiritual technologies, some ancient, some, you know, more new age, that work, and they work to attune you to your. They work to tune your chakras, attune you to the spirit, to balance the mind, the soul, and then, you know, I was going to say the body. I would say exercise. Exercise is also essential because the idea is you're trying to transcend the physical body. You're not going to transcend the physical body if you don't exercise because your body will be stiff and you'll have like issues, you know, your muscles, everything, the body consciousness will keep trying to pull you back in as the spiritual consciousness trying to pull you out. And so
nice.
exercise is essential, you know, weightlifting, running, jogging, you know, bike riding, yoga, obviously, you know, find any type, or sports, competitive sports, right? Like essential, super, super essential. And then you try to, and then diet. Okay, diet, very
Yeah, nice.
essential too. All right, so fast food, no, no,
No
no,
more.
you can't. No, McDonald's, no, it's not real food. It's
Yeah,
not.
yeah, yeah.
You need to eat nutritious food, and you need to have a balanced diet, balanced nutrition. Bringing, you know, I'm saying kind of obvious things here, but you know, bring in, you know, fruits, vegetables, meats, you know, or if you're a vegan, you know, you might need the protein in other ways though. So I suggest finding a way to bring in that protein, especially if you had a Kundalini awakening. It's kind of essential to have
Something that
protein.
I applied to the food part and it worked like a charm is if I leave something in the table and ants don't eat it, I try to
Don't
not
eat
eat
it.
it also. You know, Doritos and all those little things. You leave it there and for a week and it stay there. The
Yeah.
cat doesn't
Oh,
even
well, it's
touch it,
not
you
real
know?
food. I mean, there's has
Yeah.
so much chemicals, GMOs. And also, I tell people, stay away from try to. It's hard. Try to because so much GMOs are in so much foods. All right, depends on
Yeah.
where you are and which country. Essentially, North America, America, Canada, it's so much GMO, right? If you're in some of these other countries, there won't be as many. So GMO, stay away from that. Try to drink filtered water. I drink non-fluoridated water. I'm really adamant about that. Just
Yeah.
to bring in like clean water because the idea is so many things out there that are available have been tainted. They're no longer pure, like and so the idea is we have to purify those things and to bring those things into the body. As you're trying to purify yourself, you want to bring pure things into the body, and also be conscientious of how you think, like don't try not to have thoughts that are based on fear. Try not to have like thoughts based on vices or like different don't hate. Try to embody love as much as you can, and this is where kind of Jesus's teachings are great. And there's or if you look in Buddhism or is to bring in to try to attune your mind to a higher sense of consciousness, and that's the consciousness of love. And the idea is to create a lifestyle where you're doing all these things at once. You have your job, you watch your Netflix, and that's awesome. Do that, but meditate, read, do a spiritual practice, go inwards. Bring in nutritious food into your body, exercise. All these things, all of
Balance.
a sudden, balance, right? I always tell people the path towards enlightenment is not about like it's not about okay, that's it. I'm going to meditate for 24 hours. I'm going to
Until
fast.
I did
It's
it.
not. Yeah, it's like no. Look, you're still human. You can enjoy the things that humans enjoy. Those things. Watch movies. Like laugh. Have a good time and be human. People say, "Oh, you got to abolish the ego." No, you don't. You got to balance the ego, tame it, and
Yeah, take
control it.
control.
Take control, transform it into something that can benefit your life. And so have all these different things in your life. And all of a sudden, 24 hours of the day are filled up. And
Yeah,
now you're no longer just doing like, things that are detrimental to your mental and
searching
emotional
for
and
pleasure.
yeah. Now you're balanced and now and now that's the path towards enlightenment, towards
That
awakening.
sounds awesome. And I believe there's more information in what you just said that any school I've ever went to or
To
known
me,
or
it's
take
common
my kid
sense. I
to.
mean, I'm sure you do it all too. Most people I talk to nowadays, we all try to live like that, right? Because it's kind of
But
common
I
sense.
don't
But
believe that most people do. I just believe that people have isolated ideas of things. Like you should eat food that is good, but it doesn't know why. They just know it's
oh
good.
yeah,
You
okay,
should
yeah.
exercise, but that's it.
It's like
Oh,
why?
that guy's
Yeah,
big, so I should exercise to be like that guy. But when you put it
yeah,
all together and you go, in fact, that's why the name of the I don't know how to call it. It's not a book, but the school, I don't know,
yeah,
writing
yeah,
thing,
yeah,
its
yeah,
name
yeah.
is crisol, like the where you put the different materials before and you did the alchemy to create new
Yes, yes,
matter.
yes, yes,
So that's the idea. When you meditate and you do sports and you read, and when you read, you also go slowly with your brain. You have to read everything. It's just not
yes, yes.
a
Take your
bombarding
time.
with
That's
it.
what I always tell people too. Take your time when you're doing something. Give it 100%. When you say I'm going to do this, commit 100% and do it to the best of your ability. Otherwise, don't commit. Don't do it. You're wasting your time and other people's time. Don't do it. But if you commit, go 100%. Give it your best. If you're going to read, read slow so that you can take in as much information as you can. If you're going to meditate, do it, be conscientious and give it 100%, and if you give everything, all these positive things we're talking about 100% every day will be the best day of your life.
That's
And
awesome.
as
And it
time goes
actually,
on,
and you actually perceive getting better. You don't need to do this
yeah,
for 2 months to see the first result. You go for a week and you start meditating a little bit. I don't know, you want to do sports 5 days a week, but you only manage to do 3. It still makes you feel better and you go like, oh, okay, I can do better. I can,
oh, for
next week
sure,
I can
yeah,
go for 4 days maybe.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's good.
And balance it, and don't do don't be extreme, like don't go, that's it, now I'm going to do this to the extreme, because when you do one thing to the extreme, what you're going to do is take away time from these other things that you need to also do to live a balanced life. Because
Yeah.
truly the path is towards enlightenment, is a path of balance. It's not about like discarding one thing for, no, I'm not doing this. No, it's about balancing all the positive things and then doing it consistently. The key is consistently. Don't
Nice.
be consistent. Don't be like, oh, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to take a day off and just, you know, do what and just completely blow it all. No, be consistent. Do it every day. Don't take days off. Do it every day,
So
because
that's why it's
that
important to
fills you.
do what you really find meaning in doing, so you can do it all day and enjoy it,
Yes,
and not
and you
kick it
have to
aside.
find meaning. Yeah, if you find meaning in it, then it'll be fun. But if you don't find meaning in it, or you do it because someone told you to do it, and you're just like listening to someone, listening to your parents or something like that, or your wife or a loved one or whatever,
It'll
then
wear
you're
out.
just doing it to make someone happy. It's not going to work. It's not going to last, and you're going to just crash and burn. You're going to hate them. You're going to hate yourself. You're going to say screw it all, and
Yeah, I did
do it.
everything you
Start up.
wanted and it didn't work.
Yeah, so you gotta know why you do it. Do it with love and do it for yourself, and you gotta know why.
Nev, that
I would say
sounds
that's most
awesome.
important.
Everything we've been talking about is sounding awesome. It's changing the way my brain works. And we got the last few minutes of the podcast. And the last question I wanted to ask you is
Mhm.
about magic. How would you? It was the way we started the conversation. So
Okay.
wrapping it around.
Yeah, yeah.
How would you describe it? What is magic for you?
Well, that's the $1 million question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I've been seeking to answer that one my whole life, and I believe that magic. Okay, so there's different types of magic. The magic that I teach through book plug coming up
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
through this
Please.
book, the mages. Okay,
Images.
so the magic that I teach in the mages is ceremonial magic, otherwise called high magic or light magic. All right, so now you have also dark magic. You have earth magic, right? So this magic, its purpose is to bring in energy from our solar system through the air as the medium, so from up above, and bring it into your aura. And then all the ritual exercises in the book are their purpose is to bring in energies from our solar system. So we have the five elements, the five elemental energies, the seven ancient planets, okay, and then we have the zodiacal energies. So it's literally our solar system and the stars that surround it. And there's ways you can bring in those energies into your aura, because you are a microcosm of the macrocosm. Your aura is like literally a manifestation or a reflection of the grand macrocosm, which is the solar system that we're in. And you bring in those energies into your aura for the purpose of spiritual development or alchemy, as you mentioned. So it's spiritual alchemy. The idea is to bring in these energies and transform yourself. But you can't really transform yourself all at once. So you need to isolate different parts of yourself. And these are now attributed to these chakras. Okay. And you're trying to transform those parts of yourself by working from one chakra to the next systematically. So, what I present in the book is a systematic approach for you to work with your chakras, and which then again has expressions through your consciousness. Each of these elements that you bring in express through your consciousness, and now you're mastering different parts of the self. And that's why at the front of the book is, well, that's me, younger me, but that's the magus. The idea is it's the magus, and he's got the fire wand and the water cup and the pentacle of the earth and the dagger of the air, and then the altar
Wow.
itself would represent the spirit, right? And so it's or Jesus on the cross. You have the four elements and Jesus representing the sacrifice or the spirit. And the idea is that you're working on those aspects of yourself. And but to go back to your original kind of question, how does it work? Well, my belief is the magic, or this high magic at least, okay, was given to us long, long, long time ago by whatever it was that created us. Okay. And now we can get into, I know we have a few minutes of the
No, no, don't
podcast.
worry, don't worry.
All right.
That's
Well, we can get
amazing.
into, yeah. Well, in my belief and my research and everything has led me to believe that we were created a long time ago, okay, by beings not of this planet, and these beings came down, and it's in the Bible. It's everywhere.
Yeah,
It's in
yeah, yeah.
all the ancient cultures and all the ancient
And
scriptures.
it's
They all
crazy
talk
how we
about it.
choose like no, no, that part. No, we're not gonna take it into
Well,
consideration.
what I'll tell you what happened. So back in the day when Jesus used to walk around and preach from the original Bible, right? The Old Testament,
Hmm.
you had what's called the Book of Enoch. Now, in the Book of Enoch, it talks about these beings, the Watchers, who literally created humankind, and then there was the rebellious 300 of them that came down to have sex with human women, okay, to create the race of giants, okay, that then ended up like eating humans, just being like just a menace to the entire earth. And now we get into Noah's flood story, which still is in the Bible,
Yeah,
it's in the Bible, like the actual, the New and the Old Testament. It's in there. It says that the God created the flood to rid the world of the planet of the giants. Now, who were the giants? Well, if you don't know about the Book of Enoch, it's
yeah.
going to end right there. You'll have like an interpretation. Oh, they were amazing beings, and that's why they're giants. No, they were actual literal giants. There's remains of them all over
Yeah,
North
that was
America
what I was gonna say that
from the
like you find
1900s.
skulls and things. Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
skulls, you have the what is it,
The long skulls too.
the elongated skulls, and I forget, it's in Peru, Bacara, is it? I forget the
Yeah, I
name,
don't
but
remember
there's
the
there's a
name, but
lot of, anyways, they're found all over the planet, but especially this continent that we're on, right? And the elongated skulls, and they were tall, like 14, 15 feet. Some had like some even had horns, or they had like fangs, and they just had these crazy features. Not human, obviously, they're humanoid. But anyways, going back to kind of the original question, these so the what happened is, well, two parts of the question. One, the giants came, the Watchers came down, the rebellious ones, and then we have the whole story, Noah's flood and all of that. But then what happened is, in the 300 AD, the Emperor Constantine, okay, in the Council of Nicaea, this is all just factual historical knowledge, he went over the different parts of the Bible at the time and decided, we're going to take this part out, okay, we're going to take it out like it didn't exist, like this didn't happen. All right. And then since then we get into a whole like worldview, the Christian worldview back then, and it's pervaded until pretty much recently, of where we come from. Even still, like, unless you're looking at some of these alternative historians, archaeologists and things, this part of like upbringing and like where we come from is kind of like lost.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
believe, going back to your question, that magic was something given to us by the fallen watchers, and I talk about that in my book. It was given to us by the fallen watchers, okay, along with like metallurgy, and like cosmetics and all these different things that just kind of like set up humankind, agriculture even as well. They taught us all this thing. They were teachers, but they gave us magic, and the purpose was to help us spiritually evolve, right? Because at the end of the day, I believe that we are embodiments of their consciousness, but we're in this human body, and the only way that we can reach that state of consciousness, that extraterrestrial consciousness that was given to us, that is essentially our birthright, is by awakening the Kundalini energy. That's kind of like a safe switch, a trigger. So yes,
yeah,
there is the creator, the grand creator who created everything. Yes, it's androgynous. It's not male or female. It's an it, right? It's a universal force. But I believe that there are also these extraterrestrial beings that visited this planet. According to the Sumerian tablets, it was about 275,000 years ago. Okay, and then they created humans essentially as slaves at first, but then they started giving us knowledge, and that's how all these different parts of the pieces of the puzzle from the Bible and from all these ancient traditions, and then you're looking at Egypt and Zep Tepi, the time before time. There was a flood. That's a fact. But
yeah,
there
yeah,
was
yeah.
life before the flood. Humans existed before the flood. And we didn't come from monkeys. We didn't come from Neanderthals. We actually were living side by side with them, like about 275,000 years ago, according to the Sumerian. tablets. And one of the things they gave us long ago was magic. And the magic was actually, this knowledge was only reserved for the very few, for the priest class, and all the, the kings, the queens, and the priests. And they held this knowledge. They didn't share it with the other humans. Okay. And only until recently has this knowledge become a little more like public. And right now the question is like, where does it come from? How does it work? Well, I can tell you, I've done magic. I've done all kinds of magic, first of all, but I've done ceremonial magic, and I did it for 5 years straight. And then I led my own group, and I still continue doing it. But I can tell you it works. How does it work? I haven't answered that question yet. This is the
It's not necessary sometimes.
It's not necessary. It's like at the end of the day, we're like, it works. Like you invoke Earth, you invoked Earth. I get people from all over the world messaging me and going through this stuff. And then I've taught so many people before I wrote the book. And yeah, there's never been a human being that tries this magic, the high magic, ceremonial magic, it doesn't work. No, it works. It works for, even if you're a skeptic, you do it. Yeah. All of a sudden you notice these manifestations, you see the result. If you invoke air, you're going to be like very creative, very chatty, very cerebral. You invoke water, you're going to be very emotional, sappy. You invoke earth, you're just going to be like constantly working, moving. You invoke fire, you're going to have this incredible willpower, like you're on cocaine or something. Wow. If you invoke spirit, you'll be in this mystical consciousness, like you're a god, And so each of the elements, each of the planets that you can work with, each of the zodiac signs, they all have very specific things that they bring out in us. They bring it out. They bring it out in us because we are expressions of those energies. We have them at our disposal, And so I feel like with this book, like people haven't really tapped into the full power of this book. It has all this incredible like intellectual knowledge.
I'm going to tell you the truth.
I'm going to send you a book. I'm sending you this book today.
Thank you very much. I was going to tell you, I bought this one because I saw your post and I was thinking, like, I don't know where I can buy whatever he's offering, and I got this one because it was the one on your bio. But I'm now getting the other one for sure.
Well, no, you're getting it because I'm going to send it to you.
Oh, my friend, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And we got it through the hour of the conversation. Let me tell you,
it's over.
Neven,
come on, let's keep going.
This has been amazing for me. I'm gonna remember this my whole life. I'm sure our roads are gonna cross again in the future, as the first part of this conversation via Instagram started, where I lived near where you lived now, right? So it's kind of crazy too.
Yeah. It's a crazy connection. Yeah.
So I wanted to thank you very much for accepting this invitation, for all the knowledge and all the love you shared with us. I'm sure a great part of our purpose in life and in Earth has to do with helping others and the community. And what you're doing now through this way of sharing it's going to really help a lot of people. So I want to thank you in my name and in the name of everybody else that's going to see this in the future.
Thank you. I really I appreciate it. It's an honor. It really is. I've come into this purpose of mine, kind of stumbled into it, and I can tell you it's an honor, and I do my best to answer any and every single person that ever messages me and once, seeks my advice and my wisdom. And I feel like I'm an emissary of God. I'm a loyal servant. I'm just serving God, and by serving everyone.
Exactly. So everybody, if you have any questions, if you want to message, if you want to read one of the books, I can't use more words to recommend it. There's going to be all the information on the description.
We're also working on this one in Spanish version.
Oh, cool. Because the other one, I bought this one in English, but it's already available in Spanish.
That's already available. It's the only translation right now that I had. There's like 30 we're working on, and that one is available in Spanish. But this one is currently also the first one being worked on in Spanish.
Awesome. As soon as it's ready.
Spanish-speaking communities, really huge and
we don't have a lot of information, so we need this kind of books.
Why, yeah. So
thank you very much, Neven. It's been an amazing experience, and thank you to all that shared this moment with us. Have a great day, and see you on the next show. Bye bye.